When I read a lot of things about history and astronomy, and things coming directly out of Halton Arp's mouth are really interesting, because if you could just put yourself into his shoes to see where he was and how they actually did things back in the day, you'll learn a lot about why astronomy and astrophysics is where it is today. Something that stuck out in particular is when Halton Arp went to South Africa. Actually, let's go before that. A few things I had in common with Arp actually were surprising for me. He moved around a lot when he was younger because his parents were artists. I think his dad was an artist. I think his mom was too. I have to go ahead and look at that again. I moved around a lot, well, because of financial reasons. Don't exactly come from the wealthiest of families. And Arp did 1 year in the Navy, and he paid for his Harvard education with the GI Bill. Can you believe that? I paid for my education with the GI Bill. We have that in common as well. But I didn't go to Harvard. I went to Florida State University and the University of Central Florida. And, well, obviously, Brevard Community College, but that was an intermediate step. And, okay, so Arp is in South Africa, and Hubble and Beatty, I'm not too sure how to pronounce his name, they wanted him to show that he was stable, reliable. So they had him do a NOVA search for 2 years. And that stuck out to me, because why would somebody who got a bachelor's degree from Harvard need to demonstrate stability and reliability? I think that stuck out to me a little bit. Isn't the purpose of a college degree to show you're stable and reliable? To show that you actually can do coursework and focus yourself for 4 years? Not to mention to find a source of money on your own by going into the military to get a GI Bill? That's stability. That's reliability. So why would they want him to further demonstrate stability and reliability? I don't know if that's it at all. I think what it actually is the club attitude. You have to do the crap jobs before you can get the really big bucks. It's the club attitude with fellowships and degrees and rank structure. That attitude, I think, is one of the biggest boons. Does boon mean negative? I'm pretty sure boon is positive. I'm not too sure. But the word that describes a hindrance to the progress of astronomy is the idea that we have to be a part of a club before our ideas can have any relevance. You don't have to be a part of a club. You have to use your brain. You use the thing that's on top of your shoulders. If they want to believe in evolution, it took us 4.5 billion years to get this. Use it. Don't think that you have to be a part of some club before you can start thinking on your own. But unfortunately, since the internet didn't exist back then, you had to sort of force yourself into those kind of clubs. You couldn't just go online and research things on your own and read a lot of the publications. You had to be a part of the people who were actually doing the research and actually use the telescopes. You couldn't take all the extra data that's pumped out by the telescopes we have today and study it on your own. You couldn't do that back then. You actually had to be a part of those groups. So I think that's another secondary effect the internet is having, is you didn't have to be like Arp and try to be a part of the club. Now you can do what you want to do. And before this club attitude, it used to be you could do what you wanted to do as long as you had enough money. The noble people were the ones with all the money, so they could just do whatever they want and not give a shit what anybody else was thinking or believing or whatever. And a final note, I think there's a bit of a dichotomy with that club attitude that exists. Because they want you to be stable and reliable, yet I think that's counter to the discovery process itself. Because as people in large social groups do, they tend to reject outsiders by default because they view people who have other ideas as being threatening to their in-group, to the stability of the group. So naturally what they do is they latch on to a set of ideals, a set of beliefs, and those theories become the group's theories. And if you have any rejection of any one of those group's theories, then you also get rejected regardless of if you have valid points. So I think another reason why they had Arp as being unstable and unreliable in their minds is because they looked at him as being unstable for the fact that, well, they probably knew that he had disagreed with Big Bang. So probably on the underground, and I didn't read this here, but before he even got started in his astronomy career, he was actually probably looking for evidence to disprove the Big Bang because he thought it was ridiculous from the very beginning. Maybe that's pure conjecture on my part. But to disagree with Big Bang publicly is to be considered unstable, is what I'm saying. These days, if you have a young man or woman who wants to go into the astronomy fields or astrophysics, you can't disagree with the in-group, with the club beliefs. And you can't vehemently disagree with it, because then you'll never get telescope time. So my question is, how many astronomers and astrophysicists think Big Bang is ridiculous, but don't speak up, or don't say anything? How many of them out there believe that their bosses are absolute idiots? Probably a lot. So, to wrap up this quick talk, I really think people should look into the history behind things. Because as my talk yesterday on population stars, population 1 and population 2, those ideas were invented. There was no need to invent population 1, population 2 stars. But if we're going to have a concept like that, we might as well make it to where it's coherent and it makes sense. And being the Big Bang, the universe appearing out of nothing, is nonsense, we have to discard Pop 1 and Pop 2 stars as they are defined via metallicity. We have to look at the stars as being physical constructs that evolve very, very deeply. There's a deep time and deep evolution involved with the star. It doesn't stay bright forever, it cools and dies, and eventually it becomes something that hosts life. But I don't know if mainstream astronomers are even going to see this because they have that club attitude, the brilliantness of young minds. It's rejected. And the idea that the people who have been doing astronomy for the longest are the ones that actually know what they're talking about is actually quite false. You can be a supposed expert for 50 years. It doesn't mean your argument is any more sound than when it was the first day you believed it. Today is, I believe, June 1st, 2015. Later.